What's going on, everyone? This is Kevin here, coming at you with my hands-on and first impressions video of the Moto E. Now this is the 2020 model of the Moto E. This device is the successor to the Moto E6, and I will do a comparison in a separate video, but apparently Motorola decided to not call the phone the Moto E7, but instead just call it the Moto E 2020. Now there might be a Moto E7 that's going to be launched for international markets, and it either will be very similar to this phone or a little bit different, so I'm not completely sure. But this particular model of the Moto E is designed for the US market and likely will be available in other parts of the world as well. But with all that said, I'm really excited about this. I did already open up the box to set everything up here to save time, but I'm very happy and excited about this phone so far. But here is the box. As you can see, the style of the box is very similar to the Moto G Fast box. And I also want to mention that this device is available for $149.99 factory unlocked, with support for all 4 major US carriers. Now prices might go down in the future, so definitely take a look at the link in the video description to see the most up-to-date pricing. Now let's open this up and see what we get. So the first thing in the box is of course the phone itself. We're gonna put that off to the side for now. And then getting a little bit deeper into the box, we have some literature here. So we have a Moto E README. We also have just kind of a standard regulatory informational booklet. And we have a SIM card removal tool, so very nice to see. We also get a 5-watt wall adapter, and we get a micro USB cable for charging and data transfer. So yes, this device is micro USB, a bit unfortunate, but you'll see in a second here that this phone actually has a lot to offer for the price. So here is the actual Moto E itself. Now, the Moto E6 from last year, and of course, I'm gonna save all the good stuff for the actual comparison video, but I just wanted to mention that this phone was considered by many as a very disappointing successor to the Moto E5. But the good news though is that this phone, the Moto E 2020, is a dramatic improvement compared to the Moto E6. So that's for sure. Now this device, like I mentioned before, is available factory unlocked. You can use it with any of the 4 major US carriers. I know that Sprint and T-Mobile are merging, but you can use it with both of those carriers and any of the various MVNOs under them. Now the device features a large 6.2-inch display. The display itself is IPS LCD. It's a 720p display, so unfortunately not 1080p, but it still does look very nice. Maybe not the brightest display out there that I've ever seen, but still bright enough to get the job done. It features a PPI of 271. We're getting a 19:9 aspect ratio and a 78.4% screen to body ratio. Now you can see that the phone does feature a water drop notch at the top and a little bit of a thicker bottom bezel. Those are both design cues that are certainly not new at all, but this phone definitely feels a lot more expensive than it actually is. Now in that notch is a 5-megapixel front-facing camera that actually takes very decent selfies. The phone features 32 gigabytes of internal storage with microSD card expansion. There is no wireless charging with the Moto E, but we do have a fingerprint sensor on the back. That's another thing that we didn't have with the Moto E6. So very nice to see that we are getting that. Let's give that a try right now. So very nice, very quick. Let's do that one more time. So very quick, very awesome. Now there is no face unlock with the phone. And by the way, the smart lock feature in the security settings is not face unlock. I know some people sometimes mention that it is, but it is not. So there is no face unlock with this phone. But of course, I am very grateful that we are getting a fingerprint sensor. Now on the back side of the device, we have a dual camera setup. So we have a 13-megapixel main camera and a 2-megapixel depth sensing camera. We are getting portrait mode with both the front and rear cameras, so that is very awesome. The Moto E 2020 features 2 gigabytes of RAM and the Qualcomm Snapdragon 632. Now I know that in the comments, many people are going to mention that 2 gigs of RAM simply is not enough, and I totally agree with you. However, having the Qualcomm Snapdragon 632 is really fantastic to see for a phone in this price range, and that does make up quite a bit for the lack of RAM. Now I ran a benchmark test and I got an overall score of 119,123, And that's actually a very decent score for a phone in this price range. Of course, not the best score out there ever, but I think that Motorola made a fantastic decision giving this phone the Qualcomm Snapdragon 632. In fact, I hope this is the beginning of kind of the phase out of the Qualcomm 400 series. I know they have like a 460 coming out, I believe, but considering that this phone is $149 and we're getting a 600 series processor, I mean, really, there is no excuse for any other device to feature a 400 series processor unless it's lower than this in price. Let me know what you think about that in the comments section below. Now, video recording with the phone maxes out at 1080p. We're getting a 3,550 milliamp hour internal battery. The software on here is Android 10, so it's a very clean stock variant of the software. Of course, we do have many of Motorola's goodies added in to give us bonus features, but stay tuned to my tips and tricks video to learn more about that. Now, I did install a variety of my own applications here on the phone to test out as I use the device, but in general, we're getting a very fast interface here. Everything's super smooth, nice big display, good colors. And seriously though, having 2 gigs of RAM on here is certainly not a good thing, but I feel like the processor is powerful enough that it does make up for it. And certainly, with my experience of using the phone so far, I've managed to get better real-life performance than many other phones that I've used with 3 gigs of RAM, but a weaker processor. So certainly, when it comes to RAM or the processor for which one is important, I mean, both are very important, but the processor certainly is a bit more important than the amount of RAM. So I think Motorola made a really good decision here. Now, there's no NFC with this phone, a bit unfortunate. You know, nowadays, I would really like to see almost every phone have NFC, but it seems like that feature is reserved for more expensive devices. Now, taking a closer look at the hardware here of the phone, I already talked a lot about the front panel here. You know, nothing new or exciting necessarily, as this design has been around for a long time, but it does still look nice, and it is definitely a nice step up from the Moto E6. Now, taking a look at the left side of the device, we have the slot for the microSD card and SIM card. We do have a plastic band running on the side of the phone, but I do like how it's kind of a matte finish, whereas the back is more of a glossy finish, but we'll talk about that more in a second. Taking a look at the right side of the phone, we have the power button and volume button. Then on the top, we have the 3.5mm headphone jack, and we have a noise canceling microphone. Then on the bottom of the phone, we have the microphone, we have the micro USB port for charging and data transfer, and we have the speaker. And then taking a look at the back side of the device, again, I really like this design here. I like how we're getting a glossier finish. Now, this is plastic, of course, but it does remind me a lot of the way that the iPhone SE looks, for example, just in the sense that it has kind of this glossy, flat finish on the back. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I'm not sure, but I think it looks pretty fancy in general. And then we have the dual camera setup, flash, and fingerprint sensor. The Moto E 2020 is a pleasure to use for social media. Scrolling through Instagram, for example, is super smooth. You can easily zoom in on photos. That's very smooth as well. You can also go through your various stories and see what's going on over there. And then you can swipe over and take video or photos or whatever you want to do. So definitely very decent quality with the front-facing camera, despite this device having a 5-megapixel front-facing camera. But I'm very happy with it overall. So definitely very You can see a very good microphone here, nice speaker quality as well. We'll talk about that more in the review, in addition to photo and video samples as well. But in general, I'm a big fan of the Moto E 2020. I feel like Motorola really has taken things up a notch from the Moto E6, and I'm really excited to see what carriers this phone makes its way over to. Now, of course, right now you can get it factory unlocked. That certainly is the method that I recommend getting it, but if you do want to get some of those sweet carrier discounts and deals, then maybe wait for it to hit a carrier. But if you want to scoop it up right now, then it is available for you. But take a look at the link in the video description to see the most up-to-date pricing. But this is my Motorola Moto E 2020 hands-on and first impressions video. I hope you enjoyed it. Definitely give the video a thumbs up. But my name is Kevin, and I will see you in the next video.